Hi everyone, this is Asif Khan with another session of Trailblazers in Value-Based Care. Today we have an amazing entrepreneur, Omair Siraj, CEO of Chestnut Health, here with us and talking about some of the ways he's innovating and really leading the path towards value-based care. So we'll be talking to him. So thank you, Omair, for coming and joining us today.
Thank you very much.
So first off, tell us a little bit about Chestnut Health.
Well, first of all, thank you, Asif, for inviting me today. Chestnut Health is a medical group, privately owned medical group, that was particularly found to cater to the fast-changing needs of the acute and post-acute care industry in the Chicagoland area.
Okay.
We started a couple of years ago, and now we are currently serving 3 of the neighboring states here in the Midwest.
You know, and we all know that healthcare is transitioning from fee-for-service to value-based care. What are your thoughts on where it's headed, and what are the key components of it that people should focus on?
I'd start by saying that I think by now most of us in the industry know that the acuity is shifting outwards from acute to post-acute and so on.
Right.
And that's the acuity of the patients.
Right.
There's a lot of theory and there could be a lot of logic about why they're doing that.
Right.
But the bottom line is that as providers, we are expected and required to step up and cater to that surging acuity in the post-acute setting.
Right.
And that's what Chestnut specializes in.
Can you talk a little bit about how your vision has been, for Chestnut, for example, how you guys are providing that help or support to your customers, partners? Like, what are you doing to help them move towards value-based care?
Sure. So the argument of value-based care is fundamentally systematic.
Right.
It is not scientific. And when I say it's not scientific, and what I mean is it's not a challenge of medicine.
Right.
The recent regulation is not looking to reinvent medicine.
That's a good point.
So
Yep.
the physician community, the physician industry is highly qualified to handle a very high level of acuity of patients in all sorts of settings.
Right.
They have been. The challenge becomes when the status of the patient population is evolving more quickly or more fragile than expected, and the provider community cannot keep up with those changes.
True.
That is what poses the risk. So, for example, if a patient is suddenly having an unstable gait leading to a fall,
Right.
but the unstable gait is not caught on time,
Right.
is suddenly having some sort of skin lesion that was missed, some sort of chest pain, some sort of other symptom that should be picked up, but is not picked up on time in a
Right.
certain setting. And by the time the provider community is informed,
Yep.
things have gotten much further.
Right.
So really it comes down to a communication gap.
Got it. So you're saying in value-based care, the faster you know, because the whole point of value-based care is keeping people healthy longer
Correct.
in their homes. At the end of the day, everything put aside, that's what we're talking about, right? So the only way we could do that is by knowing in a timely manner what is the status of one patient or person versus the other, and staying on top of it and communicating effectively with different providers to make better timely care decisions, if you will.
Absolutely. So in order to reduce risk, the healthcare service industry, may it be the hospital, the team at the hospital, the post-acute, the assisted living, the home care, the clinical teams led by the physicians always,
Right.
have to be aware of the status and the fluid status and the fast-changing status
Right.
as quickly as possible, ideally instantly. So since there is a gap in those resources, there has to be technology coming in, connecting these two elements.
Got
keep
it.
them connected.
So you all already kind of jumped into the technology side of things, which was my next question is, if you are trying to get to that and, trying to communicate faster or whichever way, get the decisions made faster. And that's just one aspect of it, right? Obviously, there are a whole bunch of other things that go on, So what role technology would play in your mind or is playing, with what you just said about value-based care?
So when you touch on technology, and I'm not a technology person, but my understanding is that in presence of email, text, phone, the technology to communicate with the provider is already there.
Right.
And it's been put to work. So when I say technology, what do I mean? What I mean is a technology that understands the multidimensional types of communications that exist
Right.
Regarding a particular patient and his or her multidimensional condition.
Right.
Between multidimensional caregivers,
Right.
experts of various aspects of that patient's life.
Right.
Because the human body is very complex.
Correct. Right.
So you have experts for different segments of the body,
True.
but the person is one person.
Right.
And then there are different tiers of expertise for each segment.
True.
So you have a flood of resources available. If all their findings are not coming together live at the same time and synthesizing the whole story, they're not going to be able to make meaningful decisions.
Right.
So you need technology to put it all together.
When you talk about it, and I think that's kind of has been the challenge today, right? And why we're talking today is like, you can use phone and you can use a fax, but that's just me communicating to you and you communicating. Yeah, so maybe we are 2 out of the 5 or 10 people, but what about the other, rest of the people? So if they're left out of the loop, then we could probably move things forward, but not as effectively as the whole team would be able to. With that said, can you talk a little bit about, obviously in context of Hucu, like why did you choose Hucu, or why it is impacting you in which way and where you see it going?
Our primary reason for picking Hucu was that until we met Hucu, time and again, we came across highly sophisticated technology-related solutions, technological experts, but with very suboptimal understanding of our domain.
Okay.
That's the biggest challenge for anyone in our industry when someone with technology comes to the table. They typically do not understand our industry, and that lack of understanding hinders their ability to customize the solution that to us as it would solve value. We realized that there was a group of technology experts who understood our domain and had been in it for long enough to understand the evolution in it. That is why the way Hucu is designed really customize it to the current problem at hand in the post-acute world. 2 years later, things may change in the industry.
Correct.
With your involvement in the domain, you would be aware of that and you will customize it.
Got it. No, that makes sense, and thank you. So last question, when we think of value-based care and to your, customers or partners, what are some of the things you would suggest, whether it's a specific segment of post-acute care or just in general healthcare, where you see people struggling or organizations struggling to move from fee-for-service to value-based care? What are some of your suggestions would be to, like, what is it that an organization in post-acute care could do to start to move in that direction?
So,
any suggestions?
My 2 cents would be that, first of all, at a macro level, if you're a post-acute leader, you need to be engaging with stakeholders where there is meeting of the minds. They have to understand the current status of the industry and where things are going, and so that they can share your vision, they can share the problem, and they can contribute towards the solution. There is still a group of operators in this industry that are the so-called naysayers who are very reluctant to embrace this change, even though it is entrusted upon us. So first of all, there have to be meeting of the minds. Secondly, to be more specific, I believe that with the regulatory changes, there's always a threat, but under that threat, there's always an opportunity, or many times there's an opportunity. Currently, I see a tremendous amount of opportunity for a post-acute operator in the PDPM. The PDPM that became effective October 1st, 2019, is a tremendous amount of opportunity for any operator who truly understand how to capture acuity. We at Chestnut specialize in that, and we have a comprehensive program where we will hold your hand and walk you through the process of enhancing that capture of acuity so that you can be better resourced to look after that patient. That coupled with the dynamic communication platform of Hucu, I think would be an absolute dynamite solution for any post-acute operator.
So thank you. And I know PDPM is top of mind for a lot of providers, and it's very chaotic on how to approach it and what do. Maybe we can have a separate session later on how to how do you go about it, and I can help the teams out there educate. With that, I think a couple of things, and I always try to summarize like our discussion, like thinking about what are the things that you highlighted, so you can add if I miss something.
Sure.
So number one, I think you mentioned from a value-based care perspective, doing the right thing for the patient, and the only way you do it is making sure that you are keeping others in the loop, so you can all get together and make a decision quickly. I heard you also say is a meeting of the minds, right? So, if you believe the value-based care is that, right? Person-centered, and working together, collaborating, and doing the right thing for the patient. If that is not in the mind of your potential partner, but that's your mindset, then maybe that's not a good partner, because you're just going to be having a difficult time explaining things.
Right.
Instead, find partners or organizations that think the same way, right? So that is the next level, because once you have a vision, to execute on the vision, you need good partners to execute on it. And the faster those partners realize that hey, we align, let's go figure things out, do that. The third thing you mentioned is, focusing on not only the mindset, but, it's like 1 + 1 = 5 in a way, right? So how do you partner with somebody who can not only understand what you're saying, but they have a certain core competency that they're trying to drive at, and you have a certain other core competency. So when you two get together, it becomes an amazing experience. So what you just mentioned about the PDPM is an perfect example. I mean, a skilled nursing facility perhaps doesn't need to worry about, they don't need to worry about, but they don't need to say, oh my God, I gotta solve this I gotta solve this problem, but not necessarily think about, hey, only I have this problem, or I can solve it. You have 100+ very highly acute people that you got to take care of. So focus on that. But where they can benefit from your partnership is like partnering with you and saying, oh, instead of us trying to open up the regulations and figuring out what it is and how we do it, hey, let's just partner here. Here it is. They have a turnkey program. They bring technology. They bring everything in, and they solve our problem. And we all win together, right? So that is instantaneous solution as compared to trying to figure it out over a 6-month or a 12-month period. Maybe even they probably spend more too, because you've got to hire very specialized people to do it. Whereas your model is not just, you're not a consulting company.
Correct.
Right?
Zero out of pocket cost.
In this industry, in this time, when I hear zero out of pocket, it's like, when can I call you, right? So it's amazing that you do that. And I think because you're a provider group and you're not a consultant, and I don't know your solution about PDPM, but I can tell you, being in the industry for such a long time, is you, as a provider, what the heck it means to make it solvable, right? Where to tweak and what to do. So maybe that's another session we should have together at some point. But what a great way to partner with organizations and solve their problem. But at the same time, you're really expanding your capabilities in the area as well, being a provider group. So thank you again so much for taking your time and coming out here and visiting. And I look forward to the future success and growth of Chestnut.
Okay. Thank you very much, Austin.
All right. Thank you.